Hey friends! Glad to see you on my channel. If you enjoy my content and want to support the channel, there's a PayPal link in the profile description. You can make a small contribution to treat me to a cup of tea. Thank you for your support. Let's get into the video. It was a good day, beautiful weather, and a new story that began in an ordinary hotel, one that would turn the heroine's life completely upside down. Clothes scattered on the floor were the only evidence of a passionate night between two young people. One of them was still sweetly sleeping in the bed. A young, stunningly beautiful girl. It seemed the sunlight coming in from the yard was beginning to wake her too. Though her eyes were still closed, she started shifting in bed. Barely opening one eye, she rubbed her head, which throbbed like she was on a subway train instead of in a bed. Sitting up, she noticed another figure next to her, not immediately recognizing who it was. Realizing it was probably a man, she immediately sat upright, now fully awake. With a hint of panic, she tried to recall what had happened the previous night. That evening, a classmate had invited her to a birthday party, where she accidentally drank juice mixed with alcohol. She had never been able to hold her liquor. Just one look at alcohol and she'd be in a fog. Barely walking down the hallway, she tripped over her own foot and bumped into someone. She couldn't see the person's face clearly at first, only heard a man's voice asking her to be more careful. When she looked up, she saw an unrealistically handsome man standing in front of her. The alcohol hit her hard, and she began talking about his good looks while running her hands over him. Then she reached up and kissed the handsome stranger, right there in the hallway. She didn't remember how they ended up in a hotel room, but she did remember his voice warning her that she was playing with fire. He even asked if she knew what she was doing and whether she was in her right mind. And her response? She pulled him in by his tie for another kiss. The next fragment she remembered was pushing him onto the bed and climbing on top of him. She couldn't stop touching his bare torso, grabbing everything within reach. She even recalled some of the dirty lines, coming from her own mouth. The man had tried to bring her to her senses, at least a little. But how could he? She was overcome with desire, and the alcohol had clouded her mind. She remembered that she got what she wanted. They spent the night together until she passed out. Or rather, she thought she passed out. That was the last memory she had. Reaching for her underwear, she thought it was time to make a quick escape. And right then, the very same man she'd spent the night with appeared at the doorway. She jumped so hard, she fell off the bed with a squeak as she hit the floor. Sitting on the floor for a second, she peeked over the bed to see who the man was. He really was handsome. Though she didn't recognize him, this was Huolikin, the heir to the Hua conglomerate. Climbing back onto the bed, she told him to stay put and not come any closer. Under the blanket, she quickly put on her underwear and the dress she had picked up from the floor. Thankfully, the man wasn't looking. He was focused on writing something down. Once he noticed she was finished getting dressed, he turned to her seriously. He handed her a check, said her skills could use some improvement, but since she had satisfied him, she'd be compensated with money, of course. She didn't even glance at the check, just stared at him in shock. The man misunderstood her look and asked if it meant the amount wasn't enough. The girl reached for her purse. She pulled out a coin, repeated his comment about skills, and added that now her legs and back hurt. He was with her the whole night, after all. Then she dropped the coin on the floor and told him that was his reward. The guy was utterly stunned. His mouth hung open. Meanwhile, the heroine didn't wait around. She slammed the door shut and left the room. Outside, she thought how her first time had turned out so imperfect, and how she'd been mistaken for a cheap girl. Awful. Back in the room, the man admitted that she had definitely caught his attention. As she walked away, she thought about all the time she had lost. She still needed to visit her brother in the hospital. Suddenly, a woman's voice from behind caught her attention. But before she could turn around, someone pushed her into the pool. It was completely unexpected. She looked around to see who had done it. It was her half-sister, Su Qingwan. With a mocking tone, she said her sister was too careless, like she'd fallen into the water herself. Su Qingwan crouched beside the pool and extended a hand in false kindness. The main heroine thought to herself how smug that goat-faced girl looked. First, she pushed her into the pool in front of everyone, and now she was offering her hand? The heroine wasn't having it. She grabbed her sister's hand and pulled her in too. Without much effort, Su Qingwan ended up in the water as well. But the heroine didn't let her surface. Instead, she held her head under. Gasping and struggling, Su Qingwan reached out for help from the onlookers. But Su Jinhuan, the main heroine, just smiled triumphantly. After a few seconds, she pulled her sister up by the hair. The girl was terrified, speechless, coughing uncontrollably. But Su Jinhuan asked how it felt when your lungs ran out of air. But they were interrupted by a guy who asked how Su Qingwan was and told her to get out of the pool already. But Su Jinhwan didn't let her do that, pulling her sister back by the hair again. She explained her actions as just a small educational lesson. She asked not to involve her in such childish games again. Otherwise, if something like this happens again, she won't have any pity for Su Qingwan. Smiling, the main heroine got out of the water first, triumphantly leaving her sister behind.